Welcome back to the Next Level Contractor, the channel that helps aspiring and new contractors go from 0 to 5 million plus in revenue without becoming just another failed statistic. I'm your host, Michael Bourgeois, and every episode we break down the real journey of building a successful contracting business, tackling the obstacles, strategies, and insider tips that will help you get to the top faster and smarter. If you're ready to level up your business, let's get into it. Today, we have a very special guest. We've seen him before, and we're happy that he's here again. This is Mr. Noah Davis. Noah is a serial entrepreneur. I don't know how else to phrase it. He's got several businesses. He starts them and sells them. He buys them and sells them. He starts them and keeps them. He buys them and keeps them. This is a very profitable guy. If that's the best way I can think to phrase it. Noah has got a ton of knowledge in business. Uh, Both in the construction field and out of the construction field. He's got a contracting business, GC and roofing contracting business. He's got an exam prep company. He's got a contractor's insurance company. He's got a contractor's bookkeeping company. I mean, he's just all in it, and he is the guy to talk with about starting a contracting business. So we're very fortunate to have Noah on the podcast today. How are you, Noah? Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks again for the unnecessary introduction, but I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's you just you got it going on, man, and I'm glad you're here. So thanks for giving us your
Happy to be
time.
here. Happy to be here.
Well, so today it's going to be a little different than what we've had on some previous episodes. We did a live event recently, and I know a lot of people saw it because I there was a ton of feedback, and we have just a we have a lot of, I guess I'm just going to call them residual questions. We have a lot of questions to answer today. And so I was wondering, Noah, if you and I together could tackle some of these questions that have come in.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Cool, let's do it. All right, so
All right.
we're just gonna get to it. I'll bring the first one up on the screen here.
Okay.
So the first one is, uh, I've been a subcontractor for years, but I don't have a logo, website, or license. How do I start landing my own jobs instead of depending on other GCs?
Okay. Well, if you've been a subcontractor for years and you don't have website license or anything else, then technically you don't really exist in the world of getting referrals and getting other business. So the first thing you got to do is you got to have a name. Doesn't mean that you need your license right away. It doesn't mean you need, your uh, everything in order, but you just need a name and you need to establish yourself as under that name so that people will remember you under that name. Step one, get yourself a Google location, an address that you can have, that you can register with Google, so that you start building up credibility. The longer you're on Google, the longer you're out on the web, the more traction you're going to get, the more referrals will end up coming to you. So your start date, start today. Don't wait around. Don't say, well, I got to get everything in order. I got to have my logo ready, my website ready. Don't wait until that time. Just do that today. You have an address, whether it be your home or whatever it is that you're using, get it up on Google as your address under the name. It can be a DBA, which is a doing business as, or you can go register with the state. It's a couple $100 to register with the state. But really, as a subcontractor, you most places you're going to need a license anyways. You're going to need insurance. I mean, you're taking a big risk if you don't have insurance and all that. But if you want to do things really on quickly and cheaply, there are great places to go that you can get, a logo and a website done. I mean, there's definitely professional companies that can do it for you. But if you want to just go out and hire somebody, there are websites that can build. You can do logos for $10. Go to a site called Fiverr or Upwork or anything like that, and you get yourself 10 logos for $10. Choose a logo, put it up there, get it done. Websites doesn't have to be the fanciest website. and then just get your license started. Just sign up with the school, get started. You're gonna have to commit. You're gonna have to commit a little bit of money, but make today the day, and don't wait another day that you've probably waited years or so to not to set yourself up. You're just wasting time. So get yourself going today and start doing that. That will help build. This is a long term game. You're in it for the long run. You're not. This is not. You're not going to get rich today. But you got to start the building blocks, and that's the building blocks. Get started. Get yourself a name. Get you registered with Google. Get a logo. You got to just put one foot in front of the other. So I'd say get going.
Yeah, just start somewhere, right? You
Right.
certainly can use your home address to register everything.
Hmm.
Just there's also a lot of co-work spaces
There
where,
you go.
if you want a commercial address and you don't want to use your house,
Right.
then there's a lot of co-work spaces where you can just get a mailbox, right?
Well,
So then you'll have a
I'll, I'm,
commercial address.
I'll tell you though, the Google, it used to be, up until about a year ago or so, it used to be you could just get a virtual address and get yourself up on Google. But Google's made it harder. They're making it really hard now. So unfortunately, many times Google will ask you to verify your address with a picture of yourself, like a selfie in front of the building with the address, with the sign even. So they've changed the game a little bit. So
Oh,
you're
so
gonna
you got to spend a little more than just getting a mailbox with them
yeah.
now, huh?
Yeah, but find a buddy that'll allow you to do that for you. Go to his office, say, "Can I pay you a couple $100 to have my mail come here?" And maybe you're a subcontractor for a GC that you do work all the time. Ask him for a favor. Why would, hopefully he's a good guy or a good girl, and they can help you out. So you're gonna have to do something a little bit different than that. But I mean, then just get a PO box. But I'm sure you can figure out a way.
So in that case, I mean, but they will let you still use your home address.
Yeah, you can use your home address. The risk is, of course, that you're exposing clients and everything like that to your home address, and I personally don't like that idea. But when you're starting out, I think it's okay. Hope just do everything right. Because that's your registered address essentially, where you can where people can find you. So just make sure you do everything right, and you keep it all above board, and you don't mind whoever you deal with. Assume they're gonna come and knock on your door at your house. So if you're dealing with a bad client, just be careful about taking on that client necessarily. So
Uh,
that
yeah. Do you think those co-work spaces, if you rent a desk from them, you think Google would find that acceptable?
I think if it's a legit where they allow you to put up a sign, there are signage that you can, yes, that will work if you can put up a sign. But
That might still be one of the cheapest ways. Like if you don't have a contact that'll let you do it, and you don't want to use your home address, I'd say
yeah,
it's worth looking into.
absolutely.
I did it a couple times myself, just
Yeah.
because, yeah, I didn't have a buddy, and I didn't want to
Mhm.
use my house.
Right.
So
Exactly.
okay, well, cool, thanks, Noah. Yeah,
Mhm.
so really, how do I get started? Just get started, right?
Mhm.
Do something.
Right.
And yeah, absolutely, look into getting licensed.
Mhm.
All right, next question. Okay, we're dumping 10K, $10,000 a month into leads from Google, but most are junk and no one's following up right. How do I stop wasting money on marketing?
Hmm. 10,000 is a lot of money to waste on Google, and it's very easy to waste money on Google. Very, very, very easy. And I've learned the hard way. It took me a long time to find an expert, and to become an expert in lead generation, because I think if you're in business, specifically sale, any kind of sales business, whether it be service or product, you need to figure out how to sell, right, or how to get people to your website. I can tell you, there are two important things about Google. Number one is you have to know how to create the ads. Okay, that's a skill and art by itself. It's not just the highest bidder. There's an optimization score. There's a whole bunch of factors that goes into it. But secondly, just because you do step one right, you could be wasting your money because you have a terrible website or landing page. Okay, it is. You could think that, hey, my landing page looks great, and then you check it and you didn't check it on mobile, right? And 70+% of traffic to any service nowadays is on mobile. So everything has got to be mobile compliant. Everything's got to look right on mobile, fit right, and it's got to, so you're better off making sure you focus on your landing page first before you start spending a lot of money on Google. Okay, get your landing page right, test it. Not only do you have to test it, meaning when they fill out a form, you got to test it that it comes to you, but make sure that you're testing it every month. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it where months go by and and some code gets broken for whatever reason. Someone messed with the website, and then you realize for weeks you've been wasting all this money and no leads can come in because the form doesn't load. Okay, these things happen all the time. Nothing is foolproof. You got to constantly be testing it. So I would say before you spend any money on Google, get a landing page, not a website, a landing page. A landing page is just a one-page website that has all the information, very specific. There are, people who specialize in it and getting you good landing pages know what converts. But you want your phone number at the top. You want a form that people can fill in relatively close to the top. You want an offer on that landing page. That's a really good offer. It can be a teaser offer. You want to make sure that you have Google reviews on there. You want trust factors. You want them to feel enough trust and give them enough information to want to fill out the form, and then and then that's step one. Once you do that, then step two would be to figure out your Google side, which is, again, my opinion is you want to hire an expert for that. I don't think you want to waste time. You can literally burn, like this person is burning $10,000 a month into leads and not getting anywhere. You can easily do that, and that is really frustrating, and you kind of give up. A lot of times you just give up. It's like, it's not possible, but I can tell you that it is possible. It is a proven method. It's one of the only proven methods to get leads, constant leads. And if you do it right, it doesn't mean you're going to get rich off of it, but you certainly can build a business off of it where your referrals and all the other organic business that comes from it will help you. And the third one that I forgot about is following. This person mentioned following up right. If you do not follow up on those leads, meaning you're calling they come in at 6 o'clock that night, and you may not call them until 12 o'clock the next day. Well, you just wasted money. Or if they come in at 3 o'clock and you call them at 5 o'clock, right? Or you just forget about it altogether. You don't have an automated email that goes to that person, or you don't have a text message, or if you don't have a good process to follow up with these leads again, then you're also wasting money. So you really need three things: get your website or landing page performing, optimized properly for mobile, desktop, everything like that. Really have a good campaign designed for Google AdWords. And third is have a process and people or yourself to follow up with those leads in a timely manner.
You said it. I mean that there's almost not enough information in the question to answer it, right? It's like you're spending 10K a month into leads, and you say they're junk. Okay, maybe they are. But who's making the calls, right? How quickly are they calling? From the time the lead comes in to the time the first phone call gets made.
Mhm.
If you're like a one person show, then you might need like an auto dialer or something. I mean, you may need some kind of like recorded message or auto text, something to reach out
Well,
and touch. Go ahead.
you need data, though. You need data, and it's important that you're tracking your numbers so you know how much your cost per click is, your cost per conversion is, meaning conversion that when they fill out a form, that's a conversion, and then what's your cost per sale, right? What is that? You have to know those numbers. Otherwise, and 10, you could get, if you're doing, I don't know, if you're doing a massive commercial jobs and it costs you 10K to get one job, it still may be worth it, right? It may not be a problem, but that's maybe what it costs to get a job. That's fine, and it could
Right.
work. So, but
Exactly. But
you
you
got
need
to
that
know
data.
those numbers. You need that data, and it's easy to track. It's easy to figure out. There is tracking code that can be embedded in your landing page. Again, all these things are, if you're not sophisticated in this, hire someone, because that 10K a month, you could put a lot less money into hiring someone to get it done right, and then restart your campaign.
I completely agree. I was a marketing officer for a solar company,
Mhm.
and we subbed out the marketing work, And you're absolutely right. By the end of it, we had, when we first started, the website was bad. It was old. It was outdated.
Mhm.
People were, barely messing with it at all. So the first thing we did was we fixed the SEO, and that made a
Mhm.
huge difference in traffic. Now I
Mhm.
don't know if cross links are still a thing, but they were. It was pretty powerful at the time. So we had a bunch of cross links to other people's websites,
Mhm.
and that helped our relevance score boost way up. So the first thing we did really was focus on SEO, just like you're saying, Noah. And we hired someone to help us do that,
Mhm.
and they got us to it. We were always on the first page, right? That's where we wanted to
Yes.
be. And
Right.
so whenever anybody searched for anything related to solar in
Mhm.
the area, it was always on the first page, always on the first page.
Yeah,
And then
that's
once our SEO was on point,
mhm.
then we focused on the paid ads. And after
Mhm.
2 years, 2 full years of data,
Mhm.
spending marketing dollars everywhere, right? On Bing, on
Mhm.
Yahoo,
Mhm.
on Google, and then purchasing leads from lead vendors out there.
Right. Yeah.
Google kicked everyone's butt. I mean, the data was
Yeah.
astonishing. I mean, Google, the return, the ROI for spending money with Google
Mm.
was like 70% more than the
Well,
next highest lead source.
one of the big reasons for that is, well, number one, they're the best. It's the best. It's 90% of the search in the world. But number two is when you're buying leads, you're very likely buying them with other people, with competitors. So it means you're getting competition calling the same lead.
Absolutely.
And with Google, that doesn't happen. You own that lead. You control the lead. If you know, so absolutely, that's why Google is number one.
Yeah, there you go. So I hate to hear that somebody's wasting money, spending money on Google, which it is easy to do. But it's
Mhm.
just like you said, Noah, it's probably because the other things are not in line. So they're not
Right.
geared to
Yeah.
make money with Google.
Mhm. Right.
Okay. Um, all right. Okay. So I've done everything under the table. No license, no insurance. Oh, but I want to go legit without screwing myself. What's the first step?
All right. So first step is there's no time like now. So get insurance now if you know that you need it. Get insurance now. That's the first step. Just get it because you can get insurance without a license. That is, you are allowed to do that. And so do that. It's very inexpensive to get a policy, a general liability policy, or if you need workers' comp, get those things done. Secondly, figure out which license you need. Okay, it doesn't mean just because you might be a jack of all trades, you need to identify first what license you should be in, and also what experience will that you have will get you that license. So in certain states, sometimes there are different classes of licenses, or there are different levels of licenses: residential, building, commercial, or class A, B, and C, like in Virginia. So there's different thresholds depending on the size of the project that you're working on. So I would recommend, I'm a little bit biased, but I would definitely recommend calling a school, a contractor licensing company that knows what they're doing, because that's what they do all day, and you don't know what you're doing when it comes to licensing, because that's not your job. That's not what you're expected to know. But there are many ways that you can get licensed, get yourself going, relatively quickly. There are licenses that, and depending on the state, there are some relatively quicker ones than others that you can just get in the door with, so you get yourself, legit. But insurance is number one. Don't mess around with that. Because if you don't have insurance, you're going to be in a bad place if you have a claim. So do that. It doesn't hurt you that you weren't insured. Just get insured today. Okay, that would be the first step. Then call a school, a contractor school, and find out what you can do to get licensed. That would be what I would do.
I agree. I will say this, when you go legit, finger quotes there, it might feel like you're screwing yourself, using the language from the question
Hmm.
there, because
Hmm.
it's right. So right now, if you're doing everything under the table, that means you're not paying taxes. You
Hmm.
have no expenses at all. And I mean, I don't know, what you're charging, right? That it's we got very little to go on, but I mean, if you're charging like fair market value for your work and you're getting paid under the table for it, then going legit is going to be, it's going to sting a little bit probably.
Yeah, but
But you have to do it eventually.
well, not only do you have to do it, but if you want to grow up and you want
Yeah,
to build wealth, like if you want to be a
do
fly by
anything.
night person, then go do it. You're not gonna grow to have any equity in your business. You're not gonna be able to sell your business one day. I
Right.
guarantee you, if you were operating that way during COVID and they were handing out paycheck protection loans, you didn't get one because you didn't have any real employees on the books.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. I mean,
you
good
weren't
good luck
eligible
trying to
for
get a
any of the
mortgage, right?
grants. Yeah, I mean, you can't go out. No, yeah, you're going to get some of the business that wants to go under the table, but guess what? Those clients are problems. Many of them are problems.
Oh yeah.
You can't leverage your business properly. You can't, you're not building any long-term equity in their business. It's just,
That's right.
and you start out you're thinking small. That's the reality. You're a small thinker, and you should start to build something for you and your family. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, you can't invest with under the table money. You can't,
Mhm.
you can't use leverage, right? You can't get mortgages. You can't, you can't heavily invest
Right.
in real estate, which is where a lot of people like to place their wealth. I mean, there's so much you can't do because you're not playing the financial game correctly, right? There's rules in place. So, and if you follow the rules and you operate within the full protection of the law,
Hmm.
then sky's the limit, right?
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, let's see here. And by the way, I've been through Noah's contractor school, and it's really good. I mean, I don't mind saying it. I shopped around and I landed. I didn't know Noah beforehand. I just I found his stuff through Google, and I called a few, spoke with some representatives from a couple of different exam prep schools, and ended up using Noah's, and which is one exam prep. And let me tell you, so glad I did. I spent 20 years afraid to take a contractor's exam. And then one exam prep, had me with multiple licenses, within a year or two. So 20 years of paying people to pull permits and paying
Mhm.
qualifiers and working for others. And then boom, just like that, Noah's school got me,
Appreciate
got me legit.
it.
No, I was always legit. I never operated under the table, because I like real estate too much. All right. I'm great at the trade, but clueless about running the business. What's the first system I need to set up to avoid chaos?
The first thing you need is you need to know your numbers. Okay, so there's two things. If you were to ask me the first thing, I would say in order to run your business, you need some kind of software some project management software or some kind of CRM, some kind of system to manage your leads or just to make sure you're not losing money. So where are you spending the most money and how are you organizing that? If you were if you don't know where you're spending the money, then the first thing I would look at would be like a QuickBooks or a bookkeeping software. And if you don't even know how to do that, and you're clueless about running the business, you might want to think about getting some professional help, getting some bookkeeper, getting professionals to organize your business, make sure you're set up correctly. Speak to a lawyer, speak to an accountant, but you can speak to a bookkeeper, and they can kind of clean things up for you as well. Um, but someone who can go over the numbers with you and figure out where are you spending your most money, where are some bottlenecks, uh, you know, are you are you running things properly? Do you have proper bank accounts, proper credit cards, or whatever that you're using for your employees? What's really going on? So getting organized, I think, is step one, and software that gets you organized, and that includes accounting software, and that includes either project management or a CRM, a contact management system that can manage your leads and your jobs. I think that's it. Those are the two things I would do. Step one, get those going and be religious about using them. not only do you need to you be religious, but you need to make your staff be religious about it. Because if you don't force your staff, then you're going to have some jobs on spreadsheets, you're going to have some expenses not accounted for, and it's just then you're not really organized. So get everything in one place. And there are even some construction software that even kind of manage the accounting stuff for you as well. So, but if you really don't know a lot about these things, getting a bookkeeper can be a few $100s a month. It's not very expensive, especially if you're in construction, you're doing a lot of business. It's worth it. Um, and calling around, getting some help on project management software or CRM. That's where I'd start if you really don't know what you're doing in terms of running a business.
Same. I have nothing to add to that. It's the perfect answer. All right. Should I say yes to every job in the beginning, even if it's not in my ideal trade or service area?
Um, I think this is a tough one because when I first got started, I believed you should say yes to everything because you should take whatever you can, and you gotta hustle. Um, Stepping back a little bit, I think you're gonna have to quickly develop a niche and an area that in a service area and and the trades that you're supposed to be in, stay in. And I think the more you niche down, or the more you bring it in closer and closer and closer, the more you establish a reputation for that, and you develop a following for that. So either subs, other general contractors can rely on you, subs can rely on you, customers can rely on you, and you get more organic business that way if you focus. So you just think about this: if you are advertising, I do everything under the sun. Well, that's not people. When people are searching for something, they don't type in, "How do I get a jack of all trades?" They just don't type that into Google, right?
That's
What do they
true.
type in? I need a pull cage. I need my lighting done. I need a garage door done. Like that's what they type in. So they're typing in very specific things. Think about the keywords they type in, and you got to go. You got to focus on something. So what you might want to do is what are some things that you do well, and go. You can go onto Google, figure out what people are typing in, and gear your business towards that. So if you build pull cages, then you can find out the keywords that people type in on Google, and kind of mold your business to what people generally type in. But I think you want to quickly get to a niche in a specific service area and build a local presence. That's what you want to get through as quickly as possible. I understand early on you may need to make money wherever you can, and that's understandable, but you want to move as quickly as possible to the niche and local service area.
Absolutely. I mean, I read this question. I say, should I say yes to every job? And I just think about all the customers that I said yes to that, really shortly after the agreement was signed, I'm just like, ooh, I don't know if I want this customer. When I read that question, I'm just thinking, obviously the question is about, you know, doing stuff that's outside of your wheelhouse, which,
Hmm.
yeah, I think is not a good idea, because it's not going to be your best quality work, right? And then
Hmm.
what's that really going to do for your reputation if you do a mediocre job?
Right.
And you can't really charge a premium if
Hmm.
it's not something that you're good at.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just thinking about, saying yes to the like, that-
Add
I don't know.
customers,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
or
got,
change
yeah,
jobs, yeah,
you have to be
yeah.
able to walk away
You
from
have to.
some of the
You gotta
jobs.
have some dignity, right? You got
You got,
so,
yeah, you got to walk
so
away once in a while.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Um, all right. Uh, I don't know if I should double down on one trade or add new services. What's the right move after your first million?
Okay. So this is a good piggyback off the last question.
It is.
Um, and I think you double down, triple down, quadruple down on what you're doing. If you've made your first million, you figured out how to do it. That's an awesome first step. That's really, really good. Double down, because you keep coming back to what works, even if it's repetitive and boring. That's how you get good at it. And once you're so good at it, think about expanding maybe your geographic area with the same trade. Go a little bit, extend a little bit, maybe go into, if you're in residential, go into commercial, or expand on your trade rather than maybe adding new services. I think once you have a lot of customers and you add more services, it'll feel easier. But yeah, I think in order to add services, additional new services, you have to be able to step away from the business and look at it from a high level and see, will this run on autopilot the way it should, and then kind of start thinking about that. But I would double down on the trade that you're doing.
I totally agree. I don't think $1 million is really that much money in the construction
No,
field. So
no,
it's like you're gearing up. You haven't even begun to
hmm,
see like where your ceiling is in that
right,
particular niche. So you could just keep growing and growing and growing and getting better and better and better at the thing you're already doing.
right.
And so it just gets easier, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, I totally agree. All right. Um, I hit 1.1 million last year, but I'm still doing all the sales and scheduling. Oh, he's busy or she's busy. How do I start replacing myself without losing control?
Well, I think, Michael, like you just said, $1 million isn't necessarily a lot. Again, depends what you're doing. You could be making great margins on 1 million if you're doing something. I'm not sure what you, but you could make. It's kind of all about the margins. But um, I like to say that if you should do as much as you can for as long as you can yourself until you feel like you're busting at the seams and you got to bring in someone to help you. Because number one, the second you do that, you are going to lose control. You're going to lose a little bit of control. Okay. But even when you bring someone in, you want to, especially your first employee, you want to watch everything they're doing because you want them to continue on your methods and your vision. Okay, so they will take if you just let them go, it's going to be their vision, right, on how they run the business, on how they run the sales or scheduling. But you got yourself to this level, and so if you're going to bring in a salesperson, then make sure that you are with them every step of the way. You're almost tandem in everything you're doing. I would bring in I'd first bring in sales before I'd bring in scheduling. I'd rather kind of bring in more sales, and I'd rather myself do a little more scheduling, even though you start to think at some point you start to hear things. Well, don't do things that are kind of beneath you, meaning if it's something that costs $15 an hour to have someone do, your time may be worth more money. But if you're so early on that you don't have enough business net yet for that, then I still like to be in control. I still like to be doing everything, putting my fingerprint on everything, so that again, the so that the customer experience is going to be the best with the owner, right? The owner is going to the direct one-on-one relationship with the owner and customer should be the ultimate best experience that can be had because you are the person who can deliver that. As salesperson, it's not their company; it's a little bit different. So, I like to stay in as long as possible and stay with and leave my mark on control until you get to the point where um, you just have no choice. So I would keep going at it, but keep your mark on it. Keep uh, constant meetings with the and your team know that you're monitoring everything and you want it to go a certain way so that they continue that.
I mean, it sounds like the underlying message there in your answer, Noah, is train your people properly, right? If you don't want to lose control, then don't just
Mhm.
hire someone and throw them out there
Right.
and leave them to figure it out for themselves.
Correct. Hmm.
Which I think is a huge mistake. A lot of business owners make, right? They're so anxious to hire someone to get some relief for themselves. Like it's amazing, right? You got the discipline to wake up early. You got the financial discipline to manage the business and put money away and not spend all the money.
Hmm.
You got the like the fortitude to like go out and take the risk and do all this. But then you hire somebody and you don't want to train them. That's crazy, right? It's just like, oh, I don't feel like doing that.
Right, exactly.
You
No,
know,
you got 100% agree with you. Got training is a whole nother. It's exhausting, and you know
it
what the
is.
worst part is? You know what the worst part about training is? When the person you train, you realize they're not the right person after you train them for 2 weeks. That is,
Yeah,
it's so, it's exhausting just thinking about because you're like, I just wasted my life for 2 weeks training someone who didn't work out, and that's why hiring is a whole art. You got to be careful about hiring because it's your time that you're wasting on training.
that's for sure. But I guess to that point, another discipline would be getting processes in place, right?
Hmm.
So if you train people, if you write down your processes, if you document your processes instead of just keeping them all in your head, which a
Right.
lot of people like to do, because it's a whole nother discipline to sit down and like make a manual, for processes, and then you can
Absolutely.
just manage processes, right?
Yeah.
You can manage. I mean, you manage people, but mostly
And,
you're just checking to make sure they're
and
following your processes.
yeah, and I actually think about $1 million is the point at where you should start looking at processes. Before that, you're doing everything. You're doing it on spreadsheets, or you're doing, you know, you're just not doing it on process. But at a million, if you want to get to, let's say, to 5 million, you're going to need some processes in place, and certainly beyond 5 million, you will not get there without processes.
Yeah, it almost seems
Unlikely to
like
get there.
it's like $1 million. Like that lets you know that you kind of know what you're doing, so it's okay
Right.
for you to document what you're doing and turn it into a
Right.
process, right?
Right.
Yeah, because before, if you're making 10,000, then you don't really know if your process is the best, right? You
Mhm.
haven't you
Right.
haven't proven yourself enough. Okay,
Mhm.
nice. All right, so I thought being licensed would bring in work automatically. Why am I still struggling to get consistent leads?
Well, unfortunately, there are a lot of licensed contractors, and so once you get licensed, it's you still got to do the work to get business, right? So the good news is it's like getting a degree. You got credibility now, right? So there's something about when you advertise, licensed and insured, right? That's what you see a lot, right? So you've accomplished the big thing. So that's a huge step. Okay, but it doesn't mean that you're going to, just because you write the word license and you have your license number on your website, doesn't mean the leads will start coming in, because there are a lot of licensed people, and they've been around a long time, bringing in, trying to do what they can to bring in business. So um, you got to do the hard work, and that the good news is it gives you now the credibility to go out, and you're going to automatically be placed in places that the state will register you, right? So um, you're gonna see your name start popping up on places on Google that you didn't know before, because the state automatically puts out a list of licensed registered contractors, and those contractors get placed into directories, right? Angie's List or whatever. They automatically get free directories there. It's now your job to go into those directories and build out your profile, right? All they have is a name and a license number. They don't know in those directories what the company name may be, or the website is, the phone number, and all that kind of stuff. You got to do the hard work. You got to, that's now it's time to build your business. But go out, find where your name is, build those directories, make sure at least your number, and identify a niche. What kind of, even though I'm a residential contractor, what do I do? Do I do kitchen remodels? Do I do bathrooms? What do you do specifically? Be specific so that you can niche down. So when someone is searching for that niche, they're more likely to come upon your name than they are if you're nobody types in resident, no consumer or homeowner really types in residential contractor. They're typing in, they're going to, again, they're going to be specific in what they're looking for. So have that in your profile, and then you have a much better chance of getting leads.
It's early to bed, early to rise, advertise, 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 right? Wasn't that Ted Turner that said that? I think he said that. So
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta get your name out. I wonder how many brand new like licensed contractors. Um, maybe they were always an employee working for a licensed contractor previously, and then they go out on their own, and only then do they realize how, how much work their boss had gone through before them
Mhm.
to supply them with that job.
A
So
lot. They take
I
it for
bet,
granted.
yeah, and then it probably
Mm.
hits them real hard, and they want to call their boss and say thanks, right? Like
Yeah,
you call
yeah.
you call your parents when you're 30.
Mhm,
Hey,
mhm.
thanks, mom and dad. Life is way harder than I thought it was going to be. All right, let's see. Okay, so I thought I could do it all myself, but now I'm burning out. When is the right time to hire help?
Well, it sounds like the right time to hire help is now if you're burning out. So I think that that's if you feel like this is what you want to feel like because now you absolutely need that help. So I think that's a good thing that you're feeling that, and there is help on the way because there are a lot of people who want to work for people like you, and they want a steady job, and they're people who are willing to work at all various levels of pay. So you don't have to hire necessarily a six-figure person at your company. There are much lower level salaried people that will work that need work and are good. They're really good. I find that a lot of people when you hire construction, I've been in a lot of different businesses, but I found that when you're hiring for construction, you really sometimes find gems when you're hiring because you get a lot of people that they were working in a different field, and then when they come to construction, they have to really step it up. They got to manage a lot of things going on, and you find things that you didn't expect. And so I when you're hiring, let's say for a typical business, and you're hiring for a sales position, it's you pretty much get what you get. But when you're hiring for, let's say, administrative, you'd be surprised. You might get a lower level admin person that turns into an office manager, or turns into something really. I've seen that a lot, and construction brings out a lot of good things in people because it's exciting. There's a lot of action. It's a lot to do. A lot of you get a multitask, so multitaskers really come out. So I think so. But to answer the question, you've kind of, if you're asking that question, you're really burning out. Now is the time to do something. You can get somebody, but again, train them and have a process so you don't have to train multiple people.
Yeah, and if I may, I'm just going to say, there's a everybody has a different size plate. So I wouldn't set, like a dollar amount necessarily as the indicator that you need assistance,
Mhm.
right? Like if you're maxed out and you're at 500,000, well then you're maxed out, and you need help.
Mhm.
Like wouldn't you agree with that, Noah? I mean, if the whole thing's going to crash and burn because you can't take it anymore and you're going to have a breakdown, it doesn't really matter what, like
Correct.
where you are in the business.
Yeah.
You just have to know thyself, right?
Right, and it could be that it doesn't mean that at 500,000 you may need the help, but that one person may allow you to go from 500,000 to 2,000,000 with one
Exactly.
person, right? So you don't
Exactly.
know that. You could be incredibly efficient, and you bring in someone who knows how to use systems, use technology. If you're not good at technology, if you're not using, like for instance, nowadays, if you're not using AI to help your business, then there's a lot of people, who are out there who understand that and how can help and they can help your business with that and how to make your business more efficient. So you can really exponentially grow with even one person.
Absolutely. And so with that, I would say just process the advice, even the advice that we're given here, right? Like if Michael says you don't need help until you hit a million, well, my
Relative.
situation
Yeah.
might be different, right? Exactly. So
Mhm.
it's like only you know the specifics of your situation. So, treat it like a trip to the grocery store. Take what you need, leave the rest on the shelf. I mean,
Right.
if you need help, you need help.
Right.
Uh, all right. So, I keep getting underbid and losing jobs. How do I stay competitive without racing to the bottom? Ooh,
Um, well, this goes back to having a little bit of dignity, right? So part of this is is you will find competitors who you speak to well-established companies, and they will tell you, "This is my price. This is how I bid." I know we have people who underbid us, but guess what? They're busy. They get a lot of business, and that's because they've established reputation. And when it comes to doing work on your home or your building, it is not all about price, right? The customer now knows it's all about reputation, reliability. Are they going to get the job done? Are they going to give me a warranty? And so you have a lot of ways to differentiate yourself. And part of really, when you're getting underbid, it's your job to sell the customer why that this is I'm doing this is the price I do it for. I have this is my reputation. Um, and I can't do it below this level, but I guarantee you you're going to be happy. These are all the reasons. These are all the testimonials. This is everything you need to know about why I'm a good, upstanding person. Um, and you gotta throw enough at the fire. You're not. I am sure that if you get enough leads, you will get it. You will get the jobs that you need. You have to have. If you're going, if you're of all the jobs you do are maybe government jobs and you're bidding on government jobs, well, and you're not set up to understand how to do government jobs and be efficient at them, then you may lose every job, because in the government, a lot of times it is about the lowest price. Okay, that may be their mandate. So if that's what you're doing, then don't do that. If you can't figure out how to get efficient enough to make money at those low levels, okay, but then step into the normal consumer world, and figure out how to get into that world. But you do not. I firmly believe you can establish yourself and sell people on why they should come to you, even if your price is higher. I firmly believe that's an
You said
option.
it. You just said it, Noah. That's it. You got to learn how to sell yourself. Th-
Hmm.
that's all you can do, right? If you don't want to win by being the cheapest, which you don't want to win by being the cheapest, you definitely not, because then you can't even afford to do a good job.
Right.
Um, you just have to, I would say, get some sales coaching. To
Yeah.
be honest, I would. I mean, I would get a sales coach or something. Or
And
make sure, are you documenting, in other words, are you taking pictures and making videos of all the work that you do and
hmm
posting it? Do you have a robust gallery on your website? I mean,
right.
like, you could even print that stuff out, put it in a 3-ring binder in in those little plastic, like, sheet holders, and
hmm
show people. I mean, it's your presentation, right? I
Right.
mean, that's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, and I guarantee you tell that client that if someone comes in and underbids by a lot, you just tell your client, "Hey, here's my number. When unfortunately, I hope things go well for you, but I've been in this business long enough to know that if somebody's quoting at that price, they're doing something wrong. They're not doing it right, because I know the numbers better than anybody, and I know what supplies cost. I know what labor costs. They may be using undocumented laborers, or they may not have a real license. They may be underinsured. Here's my number. Call me if you have a problem." And you might get a call one day from that client who's used that other contractor. You never know.
Yeah, you may fix that job. But no,
Right.
that's a good point. I mean, like, get familiar with the DBPR website and your state's, like, uh, business registry. I mean, that way you can see whether or not your competition's even legit. You could point that
Hmm.
out. Not bashing the competition, just
Right.
saying, "Hey, look, I'm licensed. They're not. Whatever."
Right.
Um, but yeah, I guess there's lots of different types of sales, right? Like, if it's strictly phone sales, then you need to get a sales coach for that. If you're the person going to the home, it would help to have, like, something physical that you can, like, show people your work so that they
Right.
understand
Right.
who they're talking to. E- Email them some pictures of some work you've done if that's the kind of customer they are. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, for
I
sure.
just say, yeah, you got to know how to sell yourself. If you find yourself having a race to the bottom, then yeah,
Hmm.
it's a sales problem.
Right.
All right. What's the first role I should hire? Now, I know we're super short on time, Noah, which I really appreciate you being here doing this. There's lots more questions, so maybe we can answer this question, and then and then maybe get you back for another episode. Is that
Sure.
cool?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. What's the first role I should hire for another tradesperson, an estimator, or admin help?
Uh, I, we kind of addressed this a little bit. I think well, the actually the person on here that is not listed is salesperson. I might say that if you could handle more sales and you know how to do it, then I would look at bringing in a salesperson if they can get you more leads. So that might be the first person I look to. Estimator, I don't think that to me is the last. That's estimating is a professional service you can hire out for. Anything you can hire out for, I would look to do that early on. Another tradesperson, meaning you can use a sub, or you don't have to use I think hiring in-house labor for specific trades that you can focus on subs. So I would go number one, sales, number two, admin, number three, probably tradesperson, because that anything to enhance the and grow your business. An estimator to me is last, just because unless you need a full-time estimator, and then I even think then you got to think about it, because there are so many different estimators for different trades. So unless you're only estimating one thing all day long, but I just think you get good enough at estimating or you hire out for that. That's kind of the order that I would go in.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, if you're the one doing the trade and you're not injured, and you can still physically do the job, and it's what you're really good at, and it's what you did for a long time, and it's why you got that particular license, then yeah, get you somebody that can go out there and sell you.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's easier to sell another person than it is to sell yourself.
Right.
I mean, it really is. It's hard to talk
Hmm.
really, really good about yourself and not come across a certain way, but you can have somebody else talk really, really good about you.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's just easier that way. So I totally agree, Noah. Um, all right. Well, how about one more? How about
Okay.
one more? Okay,
Sure.
thank you, thank you. All right. How do I know if I'm hiring too early and putting my cash flow at risk?
How do you know? Well, again, if you're, I think if you're not burnt out, then I think you're maybe too early. Like if you're comfortable, if you're able to do everything, then you might be that might be too early. Putting your cash flow at risk. I mean, you have to budget it, right? You have to look at, what is this person? That's why I like to hire first early on anything that can enhance my revenue rather than be a cost burden, right? So admin help is literally it's like hiring an assistant. Do you need an assistant right now? Right? Can you just work a little bit harder, work a little bit longer hours, have your spouse maybe help with some things, hire a virtual assistant for a couple of hours a week, rather than hiring a person full time. So anything that puts a drain on your cash flow is what I try to stay away from early on, and anything that enhances. Now you could have a person that is going to enhance your cash flow as an admin. That's possible, but I think it's hard. I think you want to um, I think you want to look for more ways to bring in revenue, and you want to be careful with how you structure that person, because if you structure them with a too heavy, let's say, of a salary and not enough of an incentive on commission, then you might be setting them up for failure, because they're going to be too comfortable, right? They're not going to have to worry about selling. They're still going to bring home a paycheck every week. So incentivizing them properly is going to be important, so it doesn't put a strain on your cash flow.
Yeah, I totally agree. If cash flow is a concern, then the first person you should hire is someone that creates cash flow and does
Right.
not cost cash flow. Yeah, no doubt about it. But like what you said, yeah, about the admin. I mean, maybe you desperately need an appointment setter, right? Because you're missing tons of phone calls because you're
Right.
working. And
Exactly.
so you're missing all this business, right? So
Mhm.
maybe it's not a salesperson necessarily that you need, but you just need someone to answer the stinking phone and book those appointments as people are calling, trying to get your help. Because sometimes, I mean, this stuff, it comes in waves, right? Like sometimes the phone rings off
Mhm.
the hook and you're just missing all this business, right? So maybe you do need a person to answer the phone. But again, it's only your business,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, well, Noah, thank you so much for all the time today and all
Mhm.
the information. You're super generous with both of those things, and we really appreciate it. I guarantee you, somebody watching this had probably 20 aha moments from things that you said. So we really appreciate it. And for anybody watching, please subscribe if you're getting something from this podcast. It helps us create more videos. It helps us create more content. Like it, subscribe, share. Send it to someone that could use some of this information. So thanks again, Noah, and thanks to everyone that is watching. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, Michael.